Okay, so I want to give a little bit of advice before going into the end of the Unit 7 stuff. Post 7.5, the stuff that sort of ends the unit. The first thing that comes out is the Comprehension Quiz, and you're going to be watching the same video a couple of times. Or no, this is the one where you're selecting different things. And a couple of things I want you to look at. Notice how she talks about the texture of the eggs. Soft versus hard. Just look at how she compares those two. And if you're looking for it, it's clear. Otherwise, it can be a little bit confusing. And again, I'm not going to give away many of the answers on these. I just want you to sort of train your eye to know what to look for. The POAs, the peer observation ones, they give you the answers on the second slide. So you've already noticed this. You can jump ahead and get the answers. But there's a process for those, so I want to talk about that. So first, the comprehension quiz. The second question is asking about the onion. I want you to look at what does she do with the onion? There's a couple steps that she does, and that will help answer that question. It's not just onion, do this. She has a couple of steps. Number 3, fingerspell. Remember, you fingerspell feta, and then she talks about how much she uses of that, and she stays pretty much in order. So it's not like some of the other stuff from 7.5 where the burger order was out of order. This is pretty much stays in order of the questions. Remember to note the difference between TSP, and remember, it pulls back a little bit, TSP, or TBSP. So TB up, pulls back SP. So there's 3 letters versus 4. Just train yourself to get used to seeing the difference in there. Is there a B or is there not? To be or not to be? I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. For number 5, we fingerspell oil. Watch how she does it. Oil. She's leaving the I up. Sometimes that happens. You'll remember in 7.5, what does she finish? The woman with the phone finger spells and leaves the I up. So that happens sometimes. It's not technically incorrect. It's almost like having a lisp or something like that, where it just drifts. You will see letters influence each other once we get faster and faster in fingerspelling. So for number 6, then there's a large recipe, and I want you to look at all the given information first. As with all these, look at all the given information. Make sure, do we know how to sign this or not? Look it up in what's the sign if you need to. If we don't have it, there's a good chance it's probably fingerspelled, or you'll have to pick it out between the things that you know. They do introduce some new signs in these that they haven't taught and that aren't in the what's the sign. I think maybe they're planning on catching up with that and making them match, hopefully. So look at all the given information. Note the things that are fingerspelled. If you notice that something's fingerspelled, look at the given information, see if you can pick it out. If not, figure out what blank the fingerspell goes into. Like even the title, like what is the recipe, is fingerspelled. And if it helps, Google that recipe. Just pick out any one of them and look at the basics of it, and that'll help when you watch her sign it. Like for example, she rolls something up, and it's food related. So watch how the recipe. Watch a YouTube one, a simple one, a short one, just to get an idea. Then when you watch it, hopefully it will make more sense. I'm going to get rid of this little C that's just hanging out. Okay. So that's the comprehension quiz. That's what I will recommend for that. Some of the things that she's going to introduce, and did I give? No, I didn't. Okay, let me pause for just a second. Okay, so here's just a couple of vocab things in there that you're going to look for. Oven, we fingerspell. You can gesture to it. You can do this. It means bake, but you can put things in the oven, but we fingerspell oven. And it's pretty easy, right? O-V-E-N. It's just these 3 fingers, right? Temperature, here's the thermometer, and here's the temperature going up and down. Temperature. I don't believe that that's been taught yet in any of the units, so why would you know it, right? And degrees, just the little, remember, when you're writing like 0 degrees, there's a little circle hanging out above. So whatever degrees. And we'll turn it up, turn it down, up and down, right? Makes sense gesturally. If you remember when we did numbers, 100, you add the C. So 100, 200, 300. We can also do 100, 200, 300. I'm going to translate 100, 200, 300, 400. And it's a mini C, 100, 200, 300. So you'll see that variation sometimes too. And then you could add in like 350, 325, 410, whatever you need. So remember those. It's most numbers are done in pairs. So 4C05 for 405 degrees. When she signs inch, she signs inch, measurement. It's a generic sign for measurement. So inch or inch. You can fingerspell, INCH. So either one of those works. Toothpick. She signs toothpick, right? Using a toothpick. Or you can fingerspell toothpick. It's a little harder to fingerspell. So it's worth practicing that one. And then at the end, we've signed minutes this way. Minutes or seconds. We rarely use seconds. This is just the generic. You'll also see it like this, or even like this. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. It's a little easier to see than being hidden behind the hand. 50 minutes. 50 minutes. 45 minutes. Okay? Minutes or minutes, right? See, it's hard to see if this is behind. So that's really all the vocab within number 6 that I think is worth highlighting. For the SOAR, all of these are pretty clear. The one I want to look at is number 4. It starts and ends with kind of signs that make sense, but I want to make sure they're to clarify them. Sometimes, like once in a while, right? Sometimes. And then at the end, oh well. So I just want to confirm that they're actually signs that set up the sort of scope of the story. They're like brackets, right? The frame of the story. And then the last one was clear. Now for the POA, again, always here's the strategy for watching them. You can access the correct answers afterwards. Don't just jump there. Like prep yourself. Watch each of them. If you can pick out an error, great. But some of them are really hard to see. So watch them to just get a general idea of what's going on. Then watch the next page and look at what the errors are. And see if you can remember, oh, that looked weird. If it doesn't, it's not unusual. It's not unusual because right now you are so watching them for expecting it to be the right answer and trying to glean from it what you should be doing that it's hard to look and go, oh, wait a minute, no, you did that wrong. Sometimes they pop up and it's easy. Most of the time we just get used to, oh, well, I must have been wrong in my assumption. So they're now starting to hope that you're able to pick out errors. Culturally, it's hard to tell a deaf person, you signed that wrong, right? If that's their language. So I kind of think that they need to get like ASL students to sign them because we make errors at that point, and then it's easier to point out, see, they did that wrong. Anyway, so watch the corrections, the incorrect and the correct videos until you can see clearly the difference. Oh, that's where the mistake is. Then go back and watch the original videos again. Don't leave it until you're able to identify each and every one and know why. So if you saw something similar, you could comment on it. And as I say, I've been doing this for decades now, 30 years, and we're so used to correcting errors. It's like proofing papers when you write them or when you're reading someone else's. It's really hard because you're so used to, what's being said. You're so used to it. You error correct on our own. It's hard to get out of that habit. So That's the process. Now, here are the things that are hardest to catch, and I'm giving away some of the answers in here, but you're going to look at the answers anyways. So when you first watch it, always look at the non-manuals. Do they look right? Someone goes, like something, a big thick book, right? But if their face doesn't do, then that's wrong. And it's weird because we don't notice that. We're looking at the hands and we're not looking at the face. So eventually you're going to have to like start seeing both. You're looking at the face and the hands are just in frame and you get it. Peripherally, we're watching the face most often. Peripherally, the hands are doing stuff and we get the information. So that's the big thing is, does the non-manual match what the sign is? Reverse it actually if you go, now see if I can manufacture it. Like if I said something was thin but I had the big face, that would look more obvious than, right? So hopefully that makes sense. For number 2, they start out by signing, you're going to the store and this is completely lost. It looks like they're just prepping for this. I wish they had videoed. Start out with a really defined U. They didn't. So you have to kind of imagine, oh, there was a U in there. Also, for the next couple, I want you to think about how do we make a list? Remember, we do 2 things, 3 things, 4 things, 5 things, and then we go down the list, right? You wouldn't do 2 things with the L handshake. It's always with the V. And you always work from the thumb to the pinky. You don't go the reverse way. So there's boop. Number 3, vocab words that are similar are hard to differentiate. Like school, clean, paper. You can put them in and it's easy to take the context clue and know, oh, I'm going to paper. But you would think, oh, I'm going to school, right? That error correction thing. So, church, computer, church, chocolate, computer. All 3 of those could be interchanged in a sentence. And most often we would stick with context. But pay attention, is it the right sign? That's all I'm going to say. And then the last one, no animals were harmed to make this pie. So there were no moose in it. And moose don't come in chocolate. So how would you sign that? You can go ahead and look in what's the sign, and it's not going to give you an answer. That means probably fingerspelled. When in doubt, fingerspell. Okay. The French, they add that extra S, so it's not a mouse pie. So then, that was the POAs. The next part is the story comprehension, and read all the answers first before you watch the story video, because it'll give you a really good idea of what's going to be in there. And you can see which sentences go together. Some of them are like, where's that coming from, right? So yeah, look at that. And the most important video, like, so watch this, read the answers, then watch the questions. Actually, the questions are very clear. Well, actually, I mean, you could go back and forth. I don't know, whatever works best for you. I found that reading the answers first, then watching the video of the story was very clear. I went, oh, I get what she's talking about. Even if I missed a sign, you can get the gist of what's going on. Then if you look at the questions and go, oh, okay, that's what they're specifically looking for. And you could probably answer right from there. But then if you go back and watch the story, those questions are really clarifying. And she signs it very clearly. Actually, the story itself is pretty clear too. There's some new signs, which is always frustrating. We know eat. It can also be food. Healthy, we've seen healthy. Important, we've seen the sign for important. A couple of new signs. Busy. Busy. Think the White Rabbit from Alice in Wonderland. And then she uses this, but doesn't explain it. This is a car. You drive by, You drive in, you drive out, right? So we're going to use this. It's not the sign for car. It's illustrating a car's movement. So you can go to the drive-through and come out, right? Food, eat. This sign we haven't seen. You take both hands as fives, kind of little, almost claws, and you bring them down into fists. Habit. It comes from the idea of locking something in. Is if you've done it enough, it becomes a habit. Habit. Okay, so it's a weird one. Palm to palm, kind of like a plus sign, and then habit. When we're talking about habits, making a plan, we know plan. And if you take two pieces and mash them together, put together a plan. You know roommate, right? And I think we've seen machine. So what we're doing is you're going to mesh two things together. So it's like roommate, two people putting their crap together. Right? Improve. If you imagine that the arm is a scale from bad to good. And if something improves, it goes up. If something gets worse, it goes down. Right? So improve. And then will. And then the last thing is goal. Goal. You set it up in the air and then you point to it. That's my goal. So her goal is what? So those are the vocab that I think you could best prep before going into the story comprehension. Then the comp test. There is a ton of vocab. There are like 4 or 5 slides to review. And I've tried to group them up a little bit more, taking all the questions and putting them together. Just go through, make sure you know what all the signs are. I didn't label them for fingerspelling because by now you've already looked at them. So review the slides with the vocab. Then just watch the video to get a general feel of what is being talked about. And it ends with a question. So I would say watch the thing and then just watch the question a second time. See if you understand what's being asked. Because you're going to be writing these answers. Actually, no, I think these are multiple choice. So even better. Then go back and watch the whole question, the whole situation. And then it should be clear. You want that reinforcement on the vocab. And here are all the vocab. And again, most of these have been mentioned either in the vocab or in the conversation starters, like chicken feet. Yummity, yummity. Oh, did we? Oh, well, okay. I can get rid of that one. That's just repeated. Okay. So now we start to do compounds, right? We know cheese, burger. We could do chicken, burger. In the other one, we did black bean burger. I could have added that, but it's not one of the options, so that's okay. Measurements, a cup of this, a teaspoon of that, those kind of things, okay? Some desserts and sides, soups and sandwiches. Again, we're starting to build these compounds. More combos, right? Hawaiian pizza, actually delicious. If you think pineapple shouldn't be on a pizza, your loss. And more combos, multiple things. Techniques, how do you cook, how do you prepare something, and then times. And again, you can do this with any time, 40 minutes, an hour, however you want. It's good to practice these and just get used to them. So when you look through the answers, if you see, here's a time one in here, go back and practice those, go review those. And really, it's not that hard, it's just a lot of them. And you kind of have to build your stamina. You've got 2 hours to complete this, and I think you can do it twice. So use the time. Don't just try to rush through it. Try to give yourself the time. Let yourself prepare and mush through it. All right. So that is the assignment advice for the final things for Unit 7.